So we've looked at an introduction to crime, the two different types of law and different courts of law. What we're going to do now is have a look at some crimes in detail, but we're going to start off by looking at why young people in particular might get involved in crime. So to start with, there are some quiz questions on the screen. Press pause and see if you can answer them. The answers will be on in a second. And another question. And there are your answers. So 17 is the age that a girl's most likely to commit a crime, 13 for boys. Boys are more likely to commit crimes. They're the crimes that young people are more likely to be in trouble for. Remember, joyriding is when you steal a car that you're not allowed to drive because you're too young. And obviously underage drinking can only be for under 18s. Reasons why young people might get involved with crime then. A lot to do with peer pressure. If your friends are involved with it, you may feel that you have to. So peer pressure is probably the biggest cause of underage crime. Very often it can come from being unhappy or frustrated. There's a lot of emphasis now on child mental health and trying to increase positivity and all those kind of things, because if you're unhappy on the inside, it can lead to actions that you may not usually do. Lack of money, it could be this whole idea of what's called relative deprivation. So you're not actually deprived, but because your friends have got the latest phone or the latest trainers, you may feel out of it. You may feel like you might be picked on if you don't have the same things. So you might go and commit a crime for those reasons. Sometimes it's just to do with boredom, the fact that you need some excitement, you need something to do to give you a buzz. And also self-esteem. Low self-esteem leads to actions that we wouldn't usually do. It costs the government and the state £1 billion a year. Young men are more likely to be the victims of crime, and to keep one person in prison for a week costs between £450 and £600. Okay, this is a link to the first episode of a show called Young Offenders. It's about two Irish teenagers and they are young offenders. If you get a chance, watch it. It is age rated 12 and 15 for separate episodes, so you might need to ask permission to watch it. In the first episode, you can pick out several reasons why the two main characters might end up involved in crime. See if you can work them out. Okay, so you will have in your booklets 9 different crimes. What you guys have got to do is work out, first of all, what do you think is the most serious one, and work it down in a diamond 9 from most serious to least serious. You can just rank them. And also, if you can, say why. Why do you think the most serious one is the most serious one? Then I want you to think which ones are more likely to be committed by young people, which ones are more likely to be committed by adults, or is it both the same? So, crimes committed by young people, then criminal damage, otherwise known as vandalism. So things like going and scratching your name into a park bench and those kind of things. Dismantling or hitting a public sign, those kind of things, breaking a fence. Joyriding when you steal a car. Public disorder offences are when young people are out and shouting and getting into trouble and causing a nuisance. And trespassing, if you're playing football, kick your ball on somebody's grass and you go and get it without their permission, that is trespassing. Crimes more likely to be committed by adults then, the more serious ones. And then equal is violence against the person. Lots of young people get involved in fights, as we know. So what are the effects on society of crime then? How can that actually affect society? So if you think about it, you've got a chart in your booklets to fill out. And I want you to think about if somebody commits a burglary in the street, what effect does that have on the victim? So you might say that the victim has lost their possessions. They might be fearful of reprisals. What effect does it have on the society as a whole? So in that local area, the neighbours might become more scared. They might have to put in things like CCTV, which costs money. The police will have to be called out, so that's taxpayers' money. There might have to be a trial. So again, that's taxpayers' money paying for a court case. What about the fact that it's that kind of growth of fear, and maybe there might need to be more police in that area? So there's more cost to society than just that one person getting burgled. You could say the same for murder. Say a murder happens in your local area. Yes, the person's dead, so that's the effect on them. But what about the effect on their families? Perhaps that person was the main breadwinner and now they haven't got any money. Perhaps that person was a mom or a dad to children. Maybe they might end up in care. And again, what effect does it have on the area? There's going to be increased fear. People might start not going out at night, which is going to affect local businesses. There might need to be more CCTV, more police. And again, all of this costs money. Plus, you've got the cost of court trial. And then whatever sanction that person faces, there's a cost to that as well. Okay, so what we're going to look at now then is the age of criminal responsibility. In the UK, you can be held criminally responsible at the age of 10. So at 10 years old, when you are still in primary school, you are held responsible if you break the law and will go to a criminal court. Yes, you'll go to a youth court, we've looked at before, but you are still sent to court and put on trial. We have more young people in custody, that means in prison, than most countries in Europe. We've also got the lowest age of criminal responsibility. So we're imagining we're going to have an 8-mark question that says, evaluate the following viewpoint. The age of criminal responsibility in the UK is too low. How far do you agree with this statement? Consider both points of view. Press pause. Have a think of some arguments why yes, 10 is the right age and why no, it should be higher. This is a source that can give us some information. So it's talking about a children's commissioner called Maggie Atkinson, and she said at the weekend that the age of criminal responsibility should be raised from 10 to 12. She told The Times, which is a newspaper, the age of criminal responsibility in this country is 10. That's too low. It should be moved up to 12. She based that on the fact that England and Wales has one of the lowest ages of criminal responsibility in the EU. Obviously, we're not in the EU anymore. And the second lowest is Scotland, where the age is 12. Switzerland has a criminal age of 7, as does Nigeria and South Africa, 7 years old. The rest of the EU varies between 12 and 16, and Belgium and Luxembourg is 18. People may be offenders, but they're still young children. So what arguments are there for and against this? So, for children who commit the most serious crimes should not be allowed to get away with it. If they've broken the law, they need punishing. If you raise it, then it could remove a useful deterrent to would-be lawbreakers. At 13, 14, you kind of know where you want to go with your life. So if you're not afraid of that law being there, you might go out and commit crimes and just think, well, I'm not going to get in trouble for it anyway. By 10, you know the difference between right and wrong, so they should be held responsible for their actions. At 10, you know you shouldn't steal, you know you shouldn't lie, you know you shouldn't go around and commit crimes. You are taught these things. You do have PSHE and versions of Citizenship in primary school, plus parents will hopefully, or carers will have brought you up to know the difference between right or wrong. And then think about Jamie Bulger, the case with the little 2-year-old boy who got taken away in a mall by 2 10-year-old lads and then murdered. What if they wouldn't have been held responsible by the law? They would have murdered a little boy in a really horrible, harmful way and gotten away with it. But then against it, do 10-year-olds know the difference between right and wrong? Do they know whether things are legal or illegal? If there's a 10-year-old by themselves and they're in a shop, do they know that you have to go and pay for stuff? At what age is that? Yes, you need to be able to know that. And also remember, at 10 years old, you are still in primary school. You are probably not trusted to go out by yourself or to be left in the house for long periods by yourself, yet we are entrusting them with keeping the law. It's quite a big responsibility at such a young age. You could say it's shameful the UK has the lowest age of criminal responsibility in the EU. We're now out of the EU. However, compared to those countries, it is still a very young age. Refusing to imprison children is a worthwhile measure of civilised societies which Britain should adopt. And that's one thing we could argue, that actually if we say no, imprisoning children is wrong, then that is moral high ground. And also, many legal rights aren't granted until children are older, yet we expect them to be responsible in the eyes of the law. So things like having solicitors and those kind of things. Okay, so we've done that then. So how do we think young people should be punished? And we will look at this next lesson.